Hey everybody, welcome back to Contenders China Season 3. We're on the last game of the day for Week 4. This is going to be 666 Legend versus Laboratory. I'm your host, Gio, and I am joined back by the OGs, Panda and Vals. Guys, I think you know what I'm going to talk about at first. We need to talk about Seeds. So far, we've only seen him really one-tricking Wrecking Ball. Is there a time and a place for this? Are you a fan? What should he be doing?
I think we've seen a lot of Wrecking Ball today, and across both matches in particular. So I think there is a time and a place where he can be very effective. I just think Seeds just needs to find the water of life and grow quite effectively with his team, so that way he can either be set up properly or set his team up more properly as well. Don't hang out on the back line. He's not a big hamster. He's not a hamster stuck in a DPS's body. He's literally a tank, and you need to play him as so. So you need to use his kit effectively to create space for it. And I hope Seeds becomes more acquainted with that task today.
Well, TSL have two favorite kind of compositional styles. What are they, and what do you think they're stronger on?
So with TSL, we either see them running these GOATS compositions where it's all about enabling DPS, although lately Night God's been stepping up a lot in that Xayah as well, so it's kind of a dual threat. You have to really capable main tank combined with the high charge Xayah. They also like to run the Super McCree, as some people call it. You have to Brig McCree combos. Again, that's relying more on Runcheng to pop off on the McCree. They've seen a little bit less success with that, but it still can definitely be effective. Outside of those two compositions, we don't really see too much, but knowing what Lab likes to run with all these Wrecking Ball comps, I think they can both be pretty viable today.
Yeah, I mean, with Night God too, I mean, like you had mentioned, Super McCree compositions, 3-3 compositions, both are very strong depending on the map that you play. If we get to see a little bit more high ground oriented maps, specifically when we get to our assault map for Hanamura over Horizon Lunar Colony, we might be able to see a lot more Super McCree being played into effect. And Laboratory, although we could already assume that they're going to have their hands full altogether with this matchup, could have their hands even more full.
Well, Vals, you mentioned DPS there, and he's the main tank for 666 Legend, and the pressure's kind of been on him in the last few weeks to carry. Do you think that pressure is still there this week?
Absolutely. People who are not familiar with the Western scene, particularly watching NA Contenders, might be familiar with the DPS. He was recently the main tank for Skyfoxes in the previous season. Now made his way over to China, found a place on this 666 Legend team, and he has by far looked like the best player on this team. We don't often talk about hard carry main tanks anymore. Maybe you had Gushria last season, but that's about it. DPS is definitely filling that role. When they find success, it's these plays by DPS, the huge flashy plays, but also the little minutiae as well. He's on top of the game.
Well, we'll have to see how it goes for him, because we are going to be entering our first map, which will be Ilios now. So you're going to be joining Rapture and Kenobi to see how it goes.
Thanks, Gio. Welcome back, everybody. It's our third and final match of Contenders China Season 3 2018. Today, at least, it is Week 4, Day 1. Like I said, Match 3. I am Rapture here with Kenobi to bring you our last matchup between TSL and their opponents, Laboratory. Kenobi, we're starting off on Ilios, and TSL, they had to play against some pretty strong teams going into the beginning of the season. Now they've got against Laboratory, who is certainly one of the weaker teams in the group. Any expectations coming into this first one?
So I think for TSL, this is definitely a game you need to win if you want to secure yourself that fourth playoff spot. That's really what they're playing for and what both these teams are playing for. For TSL specifically, you have that one map win already under your belt. Getting that second map win is almost a guarantee to get that second spot here. But if Laboratory can sneak up on them and maybe get a map win for themselves, that might be helping them and them trying to get that fourth spot.
And of course, many of you might recognize DPS throughout the season. Of course, the former Cursono Skyfox's player earlier in the year, now over here on 666 Legend. And DPS going to be on that Hammond Sky Show. Meanwhile, on camera, we're going to see him on the Genji. Both of these teams running interesting compositions here. Kenobi Mello on that Doomfist is definitely a linchpin character that could create a lot of leverage for 666 and create some room for Sky Show to work with. And so far, it's working out pretty beautifully. Sky Show just farming up ult charge here now, looking for the forest, scares him back up into the air. Now the Hammond in their grill has to fall back. The D.Va also helping out along with Mello to pulverize that D.Va bins, and Night God and Runcheng will get the kill. Sky Show found DPS in the meantime, and Kenobi Laboratory does get that first point capture despite TSL getting most of these kills.
TSL is going to get the point back here, and what I really like about this composition from TSL is you have this Pharah, and really on the other side for Laboratory, you only have one counter, which is Bins on that D.Va, and if Bins goes down like early, like he did in that last fight, it's going to be very difficult for them to contest against NightGod on this Pharah. They are going to bring Mello out here on this McCree, switching over SkyShow to that Tracer, so a little bit more of a dive DPS composition here, but Mello here going to try and play that McCree to try and deal with NightGod in the air.
Yeah, and we're gonna have to go to a quick break here as we're having a slight difficulty. More Overwatch Contenders China coming on your way. Folks had a little feed issue there, but in the meantime, TSL with a slight lead advantage here, 54-21. As Runchang, you see as the MP self-destruct thrown right down the middle and gonna get caught by as they're trying to dodge, but they telelocate right onto it. Now Umbra with the self-destruct of their own gonna wait it out. TSL with the slight advantage still holding on to the point, but they gotta worry about Seeds has the minefield, but that's it on the point, and they shouldn't be able to set it up, so still TSL control.
Yeah, and I would like to see maybe SkyShow run into something a little bit more hit scan, or maybe something like a Brigade here to try and deal with NightGod in the back, because NightGod is doing a lot to just get into the back, not NightGod rather. The Sombra here is doing a lot of damage into the back line that they can't really contest with. SkyShow does have the pulse bomb, but it gets eaten there, so unfortunately it's not going to get the value that you need.
Yeah, and now Lab trying to build back up and hold on to this ult. So, I mean, they don't even have an ult lead now, and Mel will be able to pick things off, at least in terms of scouting. They have that ultimate up on the Widowmaker. NightGod now just trying to duck and hide here with the barrage, waiting until the perfect opportunity to let it loose onto Laboratory here. And Lab really doesn't seem to see it coming. They have the Widowmaker. There's the nano boost. NightGod swoosing right in. Doesn't have an immediate target. Doesn't want to waste the barrage in a single one. Now getting up a little higher to catch Since and help demech the D.Va. The best they were probably going to get off of that barrage. But Lab keeping up with the Seeds minefield. They're able to keep pace. Seeds gets 3. Overtime still ticking away, but Lab still able to get back in here. They have enough players to contest, but DPS is alive and able to fight off against Seeds. Now the Moira still there. Oh, unable to hold off against Feather. And Lab have a slight advantage and more than enough now to hold on in overtime. Lab takes control.
And clutch it out, Lab, but something that was really cool there from this side of TSL, NightGod there feigned like he was going to be hitting that barrage and made Bins use all of his Matrix and then hit the huge barrage onto them. That was really cool play from them. Unfortunately, it didn't work out, but 666 Legend have the ult advantage with 3 coming into this next fight.
Runchang has the EMP, there it is. Saw the other players, other team's EMP there right in their face. Of course, lets it loose just in case the other team had an EMP ready to go.
Ooh,
and it catches a few, not a huge amount of follow-up off that EMP, but TSL slowly and steadily winning the fight as Lab is separated from one another. Finally, that Lucio is able to group up the rest of the team, so Lab has a little bit of chunkiness to get through here for TSL, but they're not getting the follow-up damage. TSL is just still slowly getting kills. Lab is unable to actually follow up and find anything. Now Siege drops the minefield to try and help disperse TSL and get the kill on Runchang, but TSL still finding kills on Lab's support line. Bins again, gets self-destruct onto DPS, so Lab's tanks really coming out here clutch against TSL, surviving long enough and getting the kills to outlast TSL scrap.
And TSL is just having a very hard time of confirming these fights when they think they've won. There was a huge EMP from Rungcheng there. They just weren't able to follow up on the damage that was needed, and they had all their ultimates. They just didn't use them effectively enough to clean up the fight, whereas Laboratory, they had that self-destruct from Bins, and they had the damage from the Seeds minefield to get some kills of themselves, so they have been using their ultimates a little bit more valuable. The EMP comes out here, isn't going to catch much, and Rungcheng's going to go down.
Yeah, it definitely looked like I caught a few, but certainly somewhere outside of the range of that EMP. Runcheng goes down, NightGod on Mello, 5v5 situation, but SkyShow finds NightGod, now continuing to put some pressure onto TSL's tank line here. And that'll be a Bins going down on the right clicks from Sober, just swinging away, sleep onto the hammer. Oh, he almost piles drives himself into the well, but just hanging on by the thread. And then going into the well, trying to duke and dive against TSL. They were so low HP, trying to use the well to take cover. Doesn't work out for long. Since with the right click, finding Umbra with the DMAC and the kill. And so we're continuing to swing away. TSL might be able to hold on long enough and find these kills. Mello switching over to 76, doesn't pay off. Was able to sprint on only to die. And TSL, with the help of Sober, swinging away here. Take out Lab, 199. They take the first round on Ilios.
And I actually really like that switch from Sober onto the Brigitte here. Really, when they saw the composition that they were running on the opposite end, you saw that they were running a lot of dive. They had the Tracer, they had the Hammond, they have a lot of dive potential with that composition there. You bring out the Brigitte, offer yourself a lot of CC, offer yourself a lot of sustained healing on that point. It's very hard if you're dive to recontest a point against Brigitte because you can't really dive in. There's the CC, and then she has so much sustain that she gives to herself and the others on her team. So I like that switch coming from Sober, and then you saw just how well it could work, cleaning up the fight, and getting nanoed even. It was just a lot of damage that they really couldn't deal with on the laboratory side.
A whole lot of damage. And now
that's a lot of damage.
It's a lot of damage.
Get some Flex Seal. Flex Seal.
Yeah. Now Lab going out with the Widowmaker, Tracer, Hammond composition here. Certainly trying to take advantage of the long sight lines of Ilios Ruins, which will be our second phase of Ilios. 666 Legend, I mean, they're running this chunky comp. They want to make it difficult for Lab to kind of wear him down, but Mello getting that first kill onto Sober on the Lucio. And now that's pretty much a cue for TSL to go in, or for Lab to go in. And right there, immediate 3 kills follow up. And TSL forced to fall back or hit the graveyard. Lab will get the first point capture exactly as it happened in the previous round.
So Laboratory's composition here, I actually like how they're trying to play this. They have the Widowmaker here, they have Mello. So Mello here is gonna, with this composition, is gonna try and get a lot of picks. That's really what you're gonna try and go for, is have Seeds in that backline, pile drive the backline, gives maybe some layups up for Mello so that he can get a couple of shots, because we know Mello to be a very capable Widowmaker.
Mello looking for some new prey as TSL looking for a way back in. Lab just hitting that 20% mark on the point. Holding strong, but no ultimates to go. They will have Sky Show's Tracer Pulse Bomb for the next fight. It's going to have to be a big one as TSL looking to just roll and bully their way up onto the point. Pile drive comes in. Sky Show, nice Pulse Bomb onto Sober. 5v4 situation for Lab. And Sky Show falling back. And look at that. Just reversing time right into a ton of tenderized targets there. And Sky Show helped cleaning him up. A huge win, another one there, just taps him on the head. Now about 46% for Lab and count.
And Tracer is a character that we've seen fall off a little bit with the advent of, you know, Brigitte coming into the meta, all the armor, all the CC. But here, Skyshow is playing it very, very well. And on top of that, Brigitte here on the side of Laboratory is really making sure that he stays up and healed most of the time. And he's really rewarding them with a lot of good damage onto this beefy front line that 666 Legend is running. You see how low Lucio here is with that sound barrier. He just not even close to it yet.
Sky Show trying to isolate Yagami in the backline. Bins, I think, might have thrown themselves off the point or maybe got knocked away and couldn't jetpack back. Nonetheless, 666 losing big time. 6v3, 6v2 situation here on Lab. I mean, this is really big. Sky Show needs to hit the biggest pulse bomb ever, but waiting too long to land it. Probably just didn't want to waste it. I think that would be a smart thing as 666 gains control of the point.
Yeah, Ben's not sure really what happened to him, but losing that Diva is pretty huge. You lose a lot of damage mitigation with that, you know, defense matrix that you have. Also a beefy body with 600 health. You want to be keeping that for these fights. But Laboratory, coming into this next fight, they have a couple of ultimates. They have this Pulse from Sky Show, and they have the Rally as well and the Sound Barrier. So they have a lot of sustain. And if Sky Show can find one of the supports on the enemy team, that'll be huge.
Oh, and Night God is knocked all the way back. Still has the grab, takes it and uses it just to suck up the Hammond. Oh, the Doomfist though. Mello was trying to cross up on Night God and instead gets sucked in by the Graviton. Huge loss by Lab. And then off that Graviton by Night God, TSL with the full cleanup and hold on strong at about 40%.
And I like how aggressive TSL is playing this right now. They're playing very high up to the chokehold. This is going to allow them to milk a lot more percentage off the clock because Laboratory here doesn't really have the ability to contest. Look at how much damage Nightcott can just pump out into the enemy team. They don't have any mitigation besides the Diva Matrix and really just Seeds' body. So they are going to be switching over to the Pharmacy here. I like this pick because now for 666 Legend, you don't have any damage mitigation yourself. The only damage you can really have here is the Matrix from the Diva.
Runcheng healing it up as Lab getting a little funky here on the front line. Swinging away, getting close to a rally. Oh no, Mello goes down. This is the problem, Kenobi. I mean, Lab's damage is so inconsistent. Just when the Doomfist and Pharah picks as it is, but then your Doomfist going down before the fight even really gets going. The Pharah not necessarily hitting all these direct shots, so Lab is really struggling to match the damage output from TSL.
And Runching is playing a very good Brigitte here. He's keeping his supports alive with that burst healing, but also whenever Mello is diving in, Runching is right there with that shield bash. He goes down, Mello goes down. They don't have any really support to heal him up besides the Pharah or the Ana, and they're just not there, unfortunately, to heal him, and he goes down right away.
No, Sky Show looking to try and build up a barrage before they lose this outright here. Kenobi overtime ticking away. And trying to stay alive against his Primal, well, at least the Primal Raging Winston get out of dodge. Bins finds Night God on the self-destruct. Mello using that Meteor Strike to at least land safely as Steves finds Umbra. And Sky Show getting close, super close, too close for comfort for TSLs. They have the barrage ready to go. Lets it loose, finds DPS. But DPS was able to DMAC Bins in the meantime. Also Sober as well. Overtime ticking away. And now with 10% remaining on the clock here, or on the board that is, TSL, do they have a chance to get back in time?
They have to make some quick swaps. DPS is going to go over to Hammond here, but 96%. Umbra's going to be the only one who's going to be able to touch. He gets on the point. He forces overtime. That's absolutely huge, Rapture.
Yeah, and Sky Show still doing all of this uncontested damage. Anytime TSL wants to try and touch the point, they're going to take Pharah rockets to the face. Graviton gets thrown down. Oh no, didn't get eaten, but no one got caught in it, so it didn't even matter. Might as well have been. Yeah, and now TSL able to make their way in. Great bubble. Night God finds Sky Show. Sky Show was not getting that work done quick enough, and TSL swaps it and swings it right back in their favor and steals it away from Lab. TSL take Ilios 2-0.
What an incredible bubble from Night God there at the end. That was a direct rocket that hit onto the Brigitte there. If that Brigitte goes down, I'm not sure they win that fight because of just the sustain that Brigitte offers you. So great play from TSL here, and Lab actually look a little bit better than they have in these previous maps. Mello has been a really good pickup for this team, and if they're able to play around Seeds like they have been in these couple of matches, this might be a more competitive game than we initially thought it would be.
Yeah, TSL, holding on together for a longer period of time. Lab just kind of falling apart at the seams the longer those fights went on. They didn't have the consistent damage with that Pharah and Doomfist composition. Kenobi, definitely a little bit of Lab struggling, and then TSL outplaying as well. So definitely a multiple theater of war here for Lab in our third match of the day. TSL still has a few more maps to go to take the series, just 2 more, and then of course that obligated 4th map. But Lab, they could still throw something in the beaker and cook something up and see what happens. So Kenobi, we'll find out. Don't go anywhere, anyone, or anybody, everybody. Overwatch Contenders China, Season 3, 2018. This is Week 4, Day 1, Match 3 between TSL and Lab. Don't go anywhere. More Overwatch Contenders China coming your way on the other side of this break.
I wake up early, I sleep alone. I try to find love from a stranger on my phone. My vision blurry, so I forget dying to hold you, but you left me here for dead. How could I do what I've done if I'm in love? You know I did what I did, you loaded the gun. And I don't wanna think about you anyway. I do it anyway. Yeah, I didn't mean to do it every day. I do it anyway. I do it anyway. I do it anyway. Don't wanna think about you anyway. I do it anyway. I do it anyway. Messing with monsters up in my head. Lie to myself, lying beside her in my bed. Paint over pictures you left behind. I'd punch the walls if it would make you change your mind. How could I do what I've done if I'm in love? You know I did what I did, you loaded the gun. And I don't wanna think about you anyway. I do it anyway. Yeah, I didn't mean to do it every day. I do it anyway. I do it anyway. I do it anyway. Don't wanna think about you anyway. I do it anyway. How could I do what I've done if I'm in love? You know I did what I did, you loaded the gun. And I don't wanna think about you anyway. I do it anyway. Yeah, I didn't mean to do it every day. I do it anyway. I do it anyway. I do it anyway. Don't wanna think about you anyway. I do it anyway. I do it anyway.
I met you on a Friday, downtown Avenue Way. I didn't know that you were gonna be my getaway. I swear I never learned, can't live without the burn. So I light it up and feel the rest. Here's how you wanna be remembered. Doing blowing side streets, cold like December. Is this what you came so far for? I don't know you're worth more.
Welcome back, everybody, to match number 3. It is Broadcast.gg's Overwatch Contenders China Season 3 2018 coverage, Week 4, Day 1. I am Rapster, still here with my man Kenobi for our TSL versus Lab matchup, which is heading over to a world premiere in Hollywood for map number 2. Kenobi, I would say that it wasn't a full stomp on our first control map, but TSL did win it 2-0. Do you think Lab still has life in them? Who do you think is going to be, someone to look for Lab to get back into this?
I think Mello is probably the person I would try and play around if you're Laboratory here. He had a very good game on that Widowmaker and almost basically won his team that game. He was at 99% at the end of that maps on Ilios Ruins. So I think he definitely looks a lot better than I think who they had beforehand. So that's an upgrade that they've made, which is good for Laboratory. But for TSL, they're going to be playing more of a tank-heavy composition, especially on this map. They favor more of these tank-heavy compositions, as you see here. Looks like they're running this. If this stays, it's going to be quad tank, which I would love to actually see a return to. I know on the desk, both of our EU, Vals and Gio, would probably be happy as well.
Well, let's see how happy they are. What rating are they going to give this one? See how well it does on Rotten Tomatoes. Is 666 Legends going to break out on offense first with the Roadhog? You're watching some Overwatch Contenders China when you got some Roadhog already second map in the series. Quad tank coming out here for TSL, and Lab already feeling the pressure. Sober snipes Mellow, and look at this, nice job. Night God turning around so he doesn't get headshotted there. But it's still just trying to giving a lot of ult charge to Lab there, but also a lot of ult charge to his supports as well. And right now, TSL, seeing what Lab is running, looks like they might be making some changes.
Yeah, I think really maybe the idea here was to just do enough damage to Night God himself so that Yagami could farm up very quickly to that Nano. And also you see here for Sober, very close to that Transcendence as well at 70%. So it looks like they're going to wait, and now they're going to bring Night God onto this Genji here. Going to try and just do a lot of damage.
Oh, and catches Umbra looking the other way, but nonetheless, not going to get too much off that barrage, only the D-Mech. Now Seeds looking for trouble here on the dumpster, digging down for some garbage. Finds the Winston super low. Going to help take him out with the help of the D.Va. And that'll be a Lab holding on here against TSL, who have made some significant changes to the composition here, Kenobi. Looking for a way to maybe out-mobilize Lab.
It's going to be very hard, though, for 666 Legend to get back onto this point here. Seeds does have this Minefield, and Minefield does a surprising amount of damage if you're just walking into it, especially against the dive where you are trying to use that mobility to get onto the point. It's going to be very difficult.
Now 2 minutes and 28 seconds on the clock here for TSL. Runchang's about to have EMP, and I would say the timing's pretty good. A lot of ult is being burned by both sides, but Runchang's about to have EMP. Mellow, though, might beat them in the ult charge game. It's just slightly ahead until Runchang takes it, gets it, but there's really no one there for TSL to follow up on it, so Runchang's gonna hold on to that EMP for now. And look, Night God's about to have Dragon Blade too, so TSL does have the tools in their toolbox to get this point out from Lab.
They're definitely going to try for this Nano Blade combo here with the EMP, but Mellow has an EMP of their own, and if Mellow is able to pop this EMP beforehand, make sure that Night God isn't able to get his dash resets with that Nano Blade, it's going to be very good for them, and it's going to stop a lot of the incoming damage.
DPS jumping right in, has to use the primary to stay alive. EMP popped by Runchang, finds Mellow. Night God gets Bins as Bins was hacked. Night God then on Synths, and they're super nano boosted, looking for the Pharah, almost gets them with the right click, but just barely whipping. And that'll be enough, though, for TSL to take the point very handedly against Lab and not having to burn too many resources to do so.
That's some actually really nice ult patience coming out from Night God there. He had the nano on him, but decided that he didn't really need his Dragon Blade to confirm any kills. But now the Dragon Blade comes out. The anti-air Dragon Blade isn't able to get the Pharah, but it does get the Mercy and the Moira probably right after.
Yeah, I think Night God just realizing, all right, we don't want them to stag run. We don't want to be wasting time here and potentially let them get back onto the point. But that Dragon Blade, likely Night God would have liked to have saved it, but decides to use it just to make sure and get rid of Lab as soon as possible.
And one of the things at the end of that fight actually was that Bins was able to force the Transcendence from Sober, which is pretty huge going into the next fight with the ultimates that Laboratory has. They have this Barrage and they have the Minefield, so they're not going to have the Zenyatta Transcendence to just eat all the Minefield by himself. That's usually what you want to do against a Hammond. You want to have the Transcendence, use it to eat up all of those mines, and because you're invulnerable, you don't get any damage done to yourself.
Yagami's about to have the nano boost, but not going to be able to pair it off with Night God. Not only do they not have Dragon Blade, but they just died to Sky Show, who's now going to make their way downtown, walking fast, has the barrage. D-Mac, Umbra gets, looked like they were about to get D-Mac, gets stunned, but healed up. Sky Show put down for the count by Umbra. Bins has an opportunity to use the self-destruct if TSL gets too antsy, but TSL is not going to push the envelope too hard here. Might be able to get the kill on Synths. All right, so TSL getting some kind of last-minute kills there as Lab overextending a bit, allowing TSL to kind of get back into this fight just for the moment, but both teams still trading, and both teams sitting on ultimates ready to go, but the payload's still moving, or was moving for that moment.
Oh, and this next fight's going to be a bloodbath with the ultimates that we have online. Night got very close to his Dragon Blade. Probably going to get it here, so they do have the EMP Dragon Blade combo if they choose to use it, but they're just getting the picks with vanilla Overwatch right now, Rapture.
Yeah, no one peeling for Feather, so they go down in DPS, and DPS jumps onto Bins, gets the kill. 6v3 situation for TSL. Lab is getting absolutely pulverized. And that is a clean fight win for TSL. Again, without burning any resources. I mean, they're going to pretty much be able to easily stomp onto Lab.
Yeah, Laboratory used a lot of resources in that fight. And with the ultimates that 666 Legend have here, this should be an easy second point take. They're just going to be able to stall for a little bit longer. Maybe not even going to have the chance to get onto the point and contest. But here's the anti-air Dragon Blade. Hey, got him.
There we go. Slip sliding around. Finally gets it. I understand. It's winter time. Sometimes it gets a little icy out there, especially when you're Dragon Blading. Night God still looking for some more shots. DPS finds Vince in the meantime. It's gonna be just this Ham that's gonna get staggered, and TSL takes the second of 3 checkpoints, that is, and now Lab about just under 3 minutes to try and hold TSL off, but Sky Show and Feather getting picked off. That Far Mercy combo caught in the corner, and now they're going to be staggered just a little bit as this payload slowly but surely making its way to the third phase.
They unfortunately got the short spawns, and really good job from 666 Legend to capitalize and punish on that. Looks like here Skyshow's going to be switching over to the Doomfist, so a lot of damage potential coming out from this lineup of Laboratory. I think Feather is just staying on this Mercy just for the Valkyrie potential here, but that's really it. After that, I expect him to switch. His DPS goes in very deep and ends up dying.
Yeah, you might say they went deep PS, right?
That's the only one of those you get. That's the only one of those you get.
All right, that's fine. I'll take it. I hit my quota. Sky Show now helping scare Umber off just for a moment. And Mellow throws out a pulse bomb in the middle of the fray. Not going to find anything there. TSL able to avoid it. Ooh! And the EMP coming out just as Sky Show is going to look for that standing medium. And that'll be Seeds, Bins, both going down here. Lab just getting caught in the crossfire. That EMP landing very solidly on Lab. And TSL, just under 2 minutes, is making that payload move down the final echelon, or I guess the final lane here of the map.
And they don't have any defensive ultimates because of their support line now, because Since is on this Ana, but they don't need any support ultimates if Sky Show is going to be able to kill the Dynamic God before he can even use that Dragon Blade.
Transcendence from Sober. I mean, Lab is almost barely putting up a fight here. TSO self-destruct. Okay, is that enough? Can Vince find two?
Ooh,
does.
big.
Gets 2 supports. TSL gonna have to stop. The momentum kind of cut out from under them. Great self-destruct. Just very simple there from Bins. Finds 2. And TSL now reduced to about a minute.
And that all started with Sky Show there on that Doomfist, able to get the pick onto Night God very early. He wasn't able to use that Dragon Blade to the best of his abilities here. And Rungcheng is going to be switching back over to the Sombra here. Going to try and have the ability to use that Dragon Blade EMP combo, but with 50 seconds left, you're not going to be able to farm it up that quickly. And if you can't, it's going to be very detrimental to your team.
Mello looking for a pulse bomb. Oh, sees that both of TSL's supports are out by themselves, but has to worry about Night God on the Dragon Blade. Bree goes down, pulse bomb in the middle of the fight. That doesn't land either. Meteor Strike catches Night God, but Ben steals the kill. And Sideshow also going down there. Seeds now cleaning up Umbra as they're separated from the rest of TSL. Yagami with a biotic grenade on Sky Show as they overextend. And then finding Mello as well. Siege trying to salvage this, but has to fall back. Doesn't want to die. But gets the attention of the Doomfist. Yagami and Sober on the board. Bunch of kills. TSL support line getting revenge on Lab's tanks here and then some. Sober isolating this Bree for the moment. 50 HP. Still staying alive. Trying to discord down the Bree. Can't do it. Now Sky Show battering back the Rungcheng Bree. Oh, a big sleep midair onto the Doomfist. The Night God cleans it up.
Night God popping away.
Overtime, self-destruct on the board, on the payload. Now the Hammond swinging on in. Umber did get the DMAC onto Bins. It's another tank that Lab can't afford to lose. Overtime ticking away. Less than 4 meters remaining. TSL still keeping up and putting up a fight against Lab's respawns from defense. But Lab has control of the payload just ever so slightly. 4v3 situation here for Lab on the point. TSL now 4v4 trying to get back onto it. Now here's the Diva coming out here from Lab. Bins. Oh, wow. Pulse bomb from Mello onto Rungcheng. Now slight advantage for Lab, and they're looking for more with the self-destruct, but doesn't find Paydirt. Now the Lucio super low. Lagami has to stay alive. They can't afford to die. Bins finds it with the shoulder check. Overtime almost going down. Lab just clawing into this one, and they will not let go of the payload. TSL getting body ping pong left and right. It's looking like Bumper Balls and Mario Party here. Just an absolute scrap fest. But TSL unable to come out on top. It will be Lab holding on at the end of the map.
It's kind of like Bumper Balls where it's a 2v2, right? At the start, it looked like it was really there at the start. It was TSL who were winning it, and then they fell off because the rest of their team died. And then the supports from TSL came back in that fight huge. Look at Sober here on the Zenyatta. Nano Zenyatta on top of that, getting so many frags, and then the Ana was there as well. It looked like TSL had what they needed to win that point, but the respawns from Laboratory just too close. And after that scrappy fight, TSL weren't getting the picks that they needed to win that war of attrition that you have on that last point. And unfortunately, they aren't able to push it all the way. But 2 points in 75 meters, you could definitely take that.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think TSL probably expected a lot more. You know, they're certainly the favorites coming into this match. Lab not looking like not out of it in control, but like certainly not in control on that map. And TSL, I'm definitely expected to finish the map up. But yeah, they didn't have clean pushes throughout the map. It definitely took them a little while to break through the Lab defense, and Lab, yeah, it definitely paid off, stopping TSL at just 2 points.
So 666 Legend here gonna be bringing out the Torbjorn. We've seen a little bit of prominence for this Torbjorn on this map, especially with this composition here. Kind of a variation of the Super McCree composition, where you have the McCree really just have all the resources pocketed into him, and Torbjorn is one of those heroes where you can sustain a lot with yourself, with your E specifically. So this composition actually works pretty well, and if it's going to be the dive from Laboratory, it's a really good counter dive composition.
And we've seen in previous games that TSL will put Runchang on that McCree. And you see them going onto it. And of course, as you point out, Night God on the Torb. Trying to play a little Splatoon out here with that ultimate and get out in time. But the thing that scares me about this composition, Kenobi, is that once you lose that turret, once you lose the static defense, you really fall apart. But Lab's dive is just absolutely repelled. Wow, just the backbone of TSL staying alive throughout that fight. But now they've lost the Torb and the McCree. It's certainly not close enough, though, for Lab to win the fight, but still, that was at least a little bit of a puncture into the metal armor of TSL so far. Nonetheless, TSL will win the fight and chew off about a minute of Lab's time.
Laboratory did get a tick, though, so that's a win for them in that last fight. But you see how hard it is for SkyShow to even do anything and dive on this Doomfist. He goes in, immediately gets antied, gets stunned, all the CC right at him, gets slept. Another good sleep there from Yagami, but there's too much damage on the Runchang.
Yeah, Immaculate Sleep on the Diva that was leading the dive. Sober right-clicks Mellow. Seeds on the point. So needs to go in there and stop them. 2 ticks now for Lab. TSL's kind of just letting them have it. I mean, that static defense doesn't get an opportunity to just jump up onto the point, but they can't let Lab take so much off of them. And still, TSL completely give up the point. 5 minutes and change on the clock for Lab off of pretty, sketchy looking fights, Kenobi.
A little bit too focused on the frags there are TSL, and they are forced to lose that point with 5 minutes, as you mentioned, to their name for Laboratory to push this next point. And with the ultimates that Laboratory has, they can push it pretty far, 5 to their name, whereas on the other side, you don't have any defensive ultimates because you picked this Ana Brigitte and just switched over to Lucio. So for Laboratory, if these ultimates work out correctly, they could easily push this all the way to the second point.
Yeah, Labs can use Seeds, his minefield to kind of cut things off after the pile drive. We'll see. Self-destruct comes down, doesn't let Pater. Here's another self-destruct. And it's really just Umber trying to get back into the fight, but it also catches Sky Shell. That's a big win there. And Lab really doesn't have, many opportunities to keep TSL at bay. They don't have that Doomfist to just punch anyone that dies. And TSL's certainly going to take that Q. They're walking right in. Night got a number, picking up kills and D-Max left and right. DPS pushing on right up and looks to possibly stagger the Hammond, but falls back, not going to overextend. TSL takes control of the payload once more, but still pretty far away on ultimate charge.
Yeah, and there I said that Laboratory, if these ults were used correctly, they would have been able to win that. And unfortunately, they're just not used at their greatest value there. Now they're going to be switching up their composition a little bit, bringing over some Widowmaker and some Pharah Mercy, trying to do a lot of damage to this heavy tanks composition.
Oh, Night God getting plundered there by Seeds, and then Bin's also fighting Runchang. Sober trying to swing and at least build some ult charge before they go down. And Lab, looking for a way in with SkyShow on this Widowmaker, unable to create much room for the team with these shots. Seeds will demech Umber in the meantime, so Lab now going to slowly walk their way up as TSL maybe pushing up a little too far. Another sleep onto Bins. Bins has no choice but to take a map, going to be brought right back up though. Now Yagami, look at some shots, lands one on the Lucio. Lab forced to fall back, and both of these teams kind of jockeying for position on the payload, and not really fighting, but kind of just poking at each other and getting kills here and there, but no actual fight happening. This payload is still just sitting where it was over 2 minutes ago. And Kenobi, TSL, they're just kind of waiting as they have ultimate charge advantage. There's a self-destruct in the backline, does find Runchang, and now looking for more. Graviton goes down, trying to keep Lab in place, but Lab are still finding the kills nonetheless. TSL falling to that ultimate combination.
And you'll definitely take that, actually, if you're 666 Legend in that last fight. You did grab, but you also forced out the Lucio sound barrier from Since there. And going into this next fight, you didn't really have the payload move that much, so you're taking a lot of time off of this clock right now. It's 2 minutes and 30 seconds right now. They started with about 5 minutes, so half of their time already gone. Night God now going to be switching over to the Hog here, and we've seen this Hog can actually work against these Pharah compositions. If you're having this hooks that Kib had on Team UK, you can definitely do a lot of damage to that Pharah.
Mellow, this is somewhat of a problem here on the middle portion of the map that, you know, to get any kind of shots, you really can't hide and cover here as the far. It's hard to peek. And at least there's so many opportunities for someone to get up onto your altitude. And Mellow looking for some shots, hiding behind or avoiding the self-destruct, and gets the kill clean up onto Umbra. Now has their sights on the Winston. And Lab just slowly picking apart TSL. Uses the barrage, almost max range there, but does catch Runcheng as they try to run away. Super low. Mellow getting very close to 50 HP, but then bolstered right back up with some healing there from the Ana and the Bri. I'm sorry, from the Lucio and the Mercy. Now Mellow with some more shots, self-destruct up in the air, and Bins again off the backboard, finds Night God and Yagami, and TSL really has nowhere to hide here. Their D.Va's out in the open, gets D-Mech by Mellow, will be cleaned up as they try and run away. Bins will steal the kill. A Primal Rage from DPS, I guess, just trying to prolong the fight on the Lab, but really, this fight's already lost, and DPS not gonna be able to do much. They go down to Sky Show. That will be a second checkpoint met. And now Lab just about 2 minutes and 30 seconds on the clock to surpass TSL.
Runcheng here switching over to the Widowmaker to try and take that Widow 1v1. I expect that to kind of stay if this continues. They're going to be running this, and DPS is actually switching over to the Orisa to trying to really just go hard anti-dive here. Try to make sure that Siege just can't get into the backline for free, along with the Genji and the Doomfist now that we're seeing. Runcheng going to be switching over to something else, probably again, more anti-dive, because they don't want this dive to be going in.
Absolutely not. Sky Show all healed and shielded up, gonna go in there, but really unable to get in with the max effectiveness. Nonetheless, DPS was already kind of melted, so it works out. About a minute and 52 seconds left on the clock here. Mellow helping force Night God back into the graveyard, and TSL looking for ways out of spawn, but they're having a tough time finding them.
And Rapture, they're very close to the end here, and let it be known that this would be Laboratory's first map win if they are able to take this at all. They have the ultimates maybe to do it. Sky Show, Mellow getting very in the backline. They're actually getting the kills. They might have this.
Yes, Seeds catapulting themselves into the front line of TSL, completely melting things, creating a lot of room for Bins and the Doomfist there to get some kills. Mellow, not too much off the Dragon Blade, and then gets caught by the self-destruct from Umbra. Now Seeds pile driving back down. Since finds Runcheng. Yagami backed off by the Doomfist, but TSL still has some numbers filtering in. Sky Show with the Meteor Strike, creating some room for Lab on the payload. Doesn't get any kills. Now the Doomfist Night God contesting here. Sky Show has to fall back. Super low, 36 HP, but not going to go down just yet. 666 Legend trying to stay alive and trying to filter back in against Lab. And Lab kind of scattered here looking for kills, but it's paying off. Sky Show super low, still alive, still caught in the ring of healing Lucio. And look at that, the minefield plus this sound barrier. There it is. Lab will take it, and we've got a 1-1 set here, Kenobi.
And Lab win their first map in the entire season of Overwatch Contenders. Finally, they are able to take that map after get the monkey off your back of the 0-12. Now you are, I think 1-13 it is now. So, you know, you got that win off the board, and now the pressure is off. You can play a little bit more loose, and they're just winning that map in really the defense of the first point. That's really how they won that map, with that defense, with the stall defense coming out from Seeds, playing very well on that Hammond and doing a great job of using that stall.
Yep, it can only go up from here for Lab, their first map win here in Contenders China Season 3. Definitely a lot to talk about. There's two maps. We have a 1-1 series score, so we're going to throw it over to the desk. Gio, how about you take it away?
Guys, Lab finally took a map. This series has been actually quite close. How has that even worked out?
Go ahead, man. Please.
It comes down to the fact that TSL, a lot of players are sometimes hot and they're sometimes cold. Outside of DPS, who we've talked about being the carry and is probably the most consistent player, we see Night God. Sometimes he carries the team with a super high charge Dire. Sometimes he's effective just waving a laser pointer around. Sometimes he gets a 4K dash reset on the Genji. Sometimes he jumps in and immediately dies. And the same can be said for Runcheng, it can be said for Sober. There are so many players that are either really hot or really cold, can't get the consistent performances on, and sometimes all your cold lines up at once.
Lab themselves are definitely catching TSL off guard, right? They had these different DPS picks coming out of the gate for both of their players in particular. How they're flexing in between the Doomfist and Genji. Mello in particular stood out most to me. recognizing if he did or not that TSL wasn't running a Brigitte, and he was like, you know what, guys? I'm just going to go Tracer and just be a giant nuisance in the enemy backline, and did just that. That pulse bomb towards the end of the defense that they did there on Hollywood was absolutely legendary, and Laboratory Mello has to be feeling pretty proud of himself.
Well, with Mello, do you think the TSL maybe would have actually got the payload all the way to the end if they had run a Brigitte, or if he hadn't been on Tracer?
I think at some degree you have to look at it, all things considering that Laboratory themselves, they're not running anything apart from Seeds on that Hammond. We know that much for sure, which kind of puts them into that boat that it's like this hyper dive composition with the Lucio speed boosting the Zarya, regardless of how much charge they have or not. I think you need to take that into account, that there's one, if not two, with Mello and in the entirety of Lab in your backline at once, if not just really dispersing the Ana and displacing all of the heals that could be there for the tanks. You need a shield, but you need some sort of CC to be there to shut down that movement of these characters.
Well, speaking of people doing really well, someone on the side of TSL who we have to mention was Sober, because he really popped off on the Zenna, especially after receiving that nano.
Yeah, Nano Zen, certainly not something you see every day, but hey, he converted it, secured a free crate, and almost got the DMAC as well. Yagami stole that away just at the last moment. Again, though, it feeds into what I was saying about Hong Kong players. We've seen some really impressive moments today from Soba, being able to get these picks, set 666 Legend up, going into fights with a 65 advantage because he's got the pick on the Zenyatta. But sometimes he gets caught out of position, can't actually convert the damage, and falls first. So Sober, and another player that really frustrates me, because if he can tighten up some of his issues like that, tighten up his position, a little bit of a decision maker, he could be in the conversation for one of the premier Zens in the region. I really trust in his mechanical ability. The rest of it just isn't there yet.
Yeah, the Nano Zen isn't necessarily what you always expect to see, but something else that you don't always expect to see is a DPS playing Lucio, which we did see from Runcheng. I mean, what was this about?
Well, I think that was more to a fill than it was anything. When it comes down to the Brigitte role altogether, all players of your team should be more than okay with swapping over to it at a moment's notice, whether it's a support or DPS. Even your tank players, you can look all the way up to even the jersey that you're wearing, Gio. The team of the Dallas Fuel in the Overwatch League, their best Brigitte player was their tank player of all things, and you kind of build your team around that sensation, whether you need to flop over to a support play or the tank role. You'll see a lot of different players taking over to that flexibility. The only problem that it lies within that is with how much time you have even practicing. We saw the sound barrier finally come out from Runcheng, and it only really caught out for maybe 2. It was a little bit late, a little bit off time altogether. But again, I think that's just how this matchup is really going. Just at a moment's notice, an ultimate could come out, if not 4 all at the same time, and then a team fight could be winning just when you thought that the team fighting said team fight was losing.
Well, Panda, you commented before we went into Hollywood that actually Numbani would have suited playing a Wrecking Ball a lot, and maybe we might see Laboratory going to Numbani. Now, they obviously picked to go to Hollywood, and it did work out in their favor, but why do you think they made that decision?
I think altogether, when you're going to Hollywood, you have to look at not only yourself as the one making the decision, but how it fares out for the rest of your team. They had to have assumed that with Hollywood within its nature, with how this region's been playing it out, that they were going to astray. TSL was going to astray away from the 3-3 altogether. So were Laboratory, and they were more than open to doing so because, like I mentioned earlier, we've only seen Seeds on the Hammond. So it's only going to be that much more nutty, pun intended, that Laboratory want to bring to the table with their DPS compositions and really take the flexibility chain to TSL. So going into the assault map, if it is Hanamura, Laboratory could struggle with that choice, but if it's Horizon Lunar Colony, we can see a little bit more fun flex picks like the Torbjorn and the Doomfist and the Genji coming out from Laboratory. I think TSL are going to get a run for their money.
Yeah, do you think maybe going into the second half of this series, it's also going to be maybe a little bit mind-gamey? Because TSL came into this series and we were all sort of thinking that they had the advantage. They were definitely going to be the better team. And now each of them have a map. Maybe it's not quite so cut and dry.
I feel like 666 Legend is still the stronger team, maybe got a little bit off guard. After all, Hollywood was Laboratory's map pick. They had some pre-plan strategies that they were able to execute well. This probably going to end in a 3-1, I feel. Still in the favor of TSL. Could even go to 5 maps, but I would be surprised if Laboratory actually takes the match win.
Okay, interesting. Well, we will be heading off to our assault map, which is Horizon Lunar Colony, so watch out for that tour, but as Panda perhaps predicted, and we'll be sending you straight back to Rapture and Kenobi to take it away.
Thanks, Gio. Welcome back, everybody. We had 2 maps. Now it's time for a third. Moving on to Horizon Lunar Colony for our assault game type here. We have a 1-1 Kenobi. I think everyone expected this one to be a bit of a stomp. TSL, though, faltering on Hollywood, unable to complete the map, set themselves up for disaster. It is now 1-1, moving on to Horizon. We could go all the way. We could go to distance. We could go to 5 maps for a second match in a row. Kenobi, you talked about, I believe, Mello the last time, potentially being a star player for Lab to get into the series. And Lab won. Do you think, Mello kind of lived up to that expectation for you?
I think he did, and really the way that they were playing around him and not playing around Seeds was really what I like. Seeds, a lot of the time they were trying to play around his play style, but no, they're just playing around Mello this time, and Mello, I think, offers you a little bit more of that carry potential. So I really like how Laboratory has been playing, and I would like to see if Game 5, between these two teams, 666 Legend here, maybe some nerves getting to them a little bit, because there's so much at stake on this game. Win, and you're basically into the playoffs. Lose, and you have to continue to go into Week 5. So here on offense, it looks like 666 Legend is gonna, fight fire with hire, bring out your own Hammond with DPS on the hand.
Yep, and Lab with the Doomfist Pharah on defense here. So, Mello's really just gonna be looking for ways to put some shots on TSL as they make their way onto the point. A lot of cover. There's definitely a solid amount of cover that Pharah can get here, but it can be hard to get shots when TSL's taking this left side push. Nevertheless, Mello putting some shots on. Night God gets, put some attention on there, has to fall back. Yagami finds one on Feather. 3 minutes and 22 seconds left on the clock, and the Lab already coming out on top. Should be able to push TSL back. The Doomfist Pharah working out nicely.
Yagami has been doing a really good job, actually, of being a counter to the Pharmacy in the air. He got the kill onto Feather there on that Mercy, but unfortunately, Skyshow is having a really good game on the Doomfist one so far. Was able to hit 2 big kills onto the support line of Laboratory and a D-Mech as well, so he's doing a really good job. And now, Bins is down, so this is a 5v6 Rapture.
And Seeds now jumping down, bolstered up just a little bit, but DPS completely melts them. And now Mello looking for Shanto Lucio, whiffing them though, and TSL wants to keep that Lucio alive as long as possible, but they're being targeted by the Meteor Strike. Skyshow doesn't commit, instead deciding to fall back and not waste, or at least not try and overextend. So now TSL, Mello though with that Q button right there, finds Night God, and the rest of it's gonna get Defense Matrix and Laboratory in full control here. TSL falling back, getting slept. Umbra put down for the count. And Lab should be able to yet again hold off TSL, but TSL should be at least happy they got about half a point A.
And Skyshow here is really popping off on this Doomfist, using his cooldowns wisely, making sure he's getting in and getting out. Also, you have to take some credit there to Feather and to Bins, really, for keeping him alive throughout that. But 666 Legend going into this next fight are going to have 6 ultimates, where on side of Laboratory, you don't really have that much besides the Minefield and the Self-Destruct. You're going to have the Valkyrie, but Valkyrie doesn't have the same amount of value as something like a defensive ult, like this sound barrier that you're going to be seeing from Sober.
And Runchang has this EMP. TSL is really just sitting there. About to have 6 ultimates here, Kenobi. And Runchang gets so much work done with the EMP. Just as Feather was flying across the map, that's a huge catch. Goes down immediately. Now, we have a slight advantage here for TSL. They are just absolutely crushing here with a 4v2 situation on Lab. Self-destruct, desperation mode here. Falling back, Bin's not going to be able to get much done. Self-destruct on the sleeping Seeds. That's a nightmare for that Hammond. And Lab gonna lose point A.
Yagami is putting the entirety of Laboratory to bed right now. I mean, he's playing so well, getting the Mercies out of the sky whenever he wants, and then hitting these huge sleep dogs time and time again onto Seeds. Seeds isn't getting the value he needs with that pile driver, because every time he goes in, Yagami is right there with that sleep dart. I love the play I'm seeing from him, and that Nano as well was able to save Umbra on that Diva, so he's doing a really good job.
And Mello now holding on the Widowmaker, looking for TSL, waiting for them to dive in. Oh,
Nice
Mello
shot.
catches Soba right in the head there as they jump up. Of course, maintaining that airspeed makes it easier to catch someone once that they jump. Skyshow now with the jump down onto Yagami, finds that Meteor Strike kill since on DPS. Mello looking for stragglers. There are none left. Lab pushing TSL back, but TSL a lot of time in the clock to work with.
Melo showing again how he's a really nice bright spot, gets that huge pick onto Sober at the start, and already 90% towards attack visor there. Feather here going to be switching over to the back to the Brigitte, so offer a little bit more CC against this dive that we're going to be seeing as NightGod is now on the Genji. So I like that swap, but however, Since is going to have do a really rough time, possibly healing through all of this.
Nope, DPS just taking on that Hammond right in the face, 1v1 them there, and Sky Show gets in on the action, gets rid of DPS there. And yeah, TSL, I mean, once they lose their Winston so early, really can't get much done, and then of course NightGod goes down, that's all she wrote.
Surprise, Doomfist kind of came right up at DPS, and he really probably wasn't expecting the combo to come onto him. He goes down early, and once you lose that main tank in these compositions, it's very difficult, especially in this current meta of Overwatch.
And Run Chang now at 61% on the UP, gets scouted just for a moment. I don't think anybody noticed. Hacks the Doomfist, and there's the Q to go right in, of course. And DPS and the rest of the squad jump in, trying to help out. Run Chang bolstered up as well as the rest of the squad. NightGod 2 by the Sound Barrier, but they get clobbered back by that Bin's Diva. And Umbra, look at that, just suppressing Melo at spawn. 3 minutes and 13 seconds on the clock. TSL still struggling to figure out a way onto point B.
And it was a nice hack onto the Doomfist, but unfortunately there was some really good peel and some really good healing coming out from Since there on that Moira. Was able to keep him alive, and then there was Melo waiting right behind the Doomfist to hit that shot that killed really the dive that was coming in. So great job from them, but 666 Legend, again, we've seen how good they are when they're using these ultimates. They have the Nanoblade EMP, which could just single-handedly win this point for them if it's hit correctly.
Yeah, I mean, they're at max ultimates here. You know, Sober just popped Rally, and then TSL's about to have 5 of the rest of their ultimates, so, I mean, they've got everything. Sky Show just got Meteor Strike. Melo doesn't have Eyes just yet. I think the biggest one here is that Since doesn't have the Sound Barrier. I think that'll be huge, because not having that Sound Barrier against the Dragon Blade, nano-boosted Dragon Blade is going to be really hurting. And taking a little while to get kills on Feather is NightGod, but does finally get it. Sober right-clicking Bins. And TSL just in control right now, but the kills aren't coming rapidly enough, I think, to stave off this defensive spawn, respawns here. 666 might not have enough, but they still are finding the kills in their favor nonetheless. Lab now filtering back in. They have to breed to right-click this NightGod, Genji right back. NightGod looking for another Dragon Blade, but on 33% on their way there. And that's going to be Bree, the Feather. Bree, that is, taking the attention of NightGod away, and TSL in full control. 3.5 kills there, and there's the full team wipe. Lab now unable to get back in without getting melted one by one. Since skates onto it, but it will be TSL finishing up the map.
And that's just in this meta, the power of ultimate abilities. You saw there the Nanoblade without a defensive Zenalt really did so much damage as well. There's no Sound Barrier. The stun came out from the Brigitte, but it just wasn't enough to get through all that damage. The follow-up wasn't there to try and kill that Genji. So great job from them. And also the other thing that really for Lab is that they just didn't have that support ult again. They didn't have the Lucio, so the EMP was free. Just this ability to not have these defensive ults is really hindering Lab's ability to counter all the ultimates that are coming from the side of TSL.
Yeah, TSL is still staying ahead in the ult charge game against Lab. Not having some support ultimates at key and crucial times definitely hurting in the long run for Laboratory here. Now TSL. Oh, I really hope they stay on some of these characters. Yeah,
we've seen this before with both of this with this map specifically, where you bring out this Bastion Torb defense. You can create a crossfire between both of the high grounds here, but also you have a lot of shielding from DPS. And NightGod really might not even need to use it. We've seen with compositions like that, NightGod might not even need the turret. If the dive comes in onto him, he just hits E, and then he's able to do a ton of damage. And if they know that Seeds is going to be here on this Hammond, this is a perfect comp to counter, because you have the sleep, you have just the Bastion who can just sit there and just pump all the damage he can into that big ball of Hammond.
Well, I also remember that this composition worked because there was a Dragon Strike that got let loose, and it completely whiffed on a not moving
we don't talk about that.
So, but that's might be part of the reason why that composition worked. We'll see. Can Lab have something to show for it against TSL running this static defense composition? Here comes Lab. Let's see what they do once they realize what TSL is running.
So I think your Lab is going to see this, and then maybe they're going to send Melo or Skyshow back to something like a Sombra, because Sombra would be really good here. You're able to hack the Bastion, and then make sure Bastion gets out of turret mode, and then bring in Seeds to hit that dive. That's what I'd like to see coming out from them. It looks like they're just going to wait a little bit and see, how they can scout around and see if they can make a dive happen.
I think for now, Lab is
It's a standoff.
Yeah, they're waiting. All right, so I guess they were looking to potentially have Seeds distract or lead the way on the right side, but Seeds literally gets Swiss cheesed by Runcheng. Runcheng at 19 HP, unable to stay alive against Mellow, but I think the sacrifice was well worth it. TSL just completely obliterating Lab on their attempt to push right side.
And there again, you see the crossfire. They all go through the left side onto the high ground there, but then there's the turret on the other side that you have to account for. It ends up getting 2 kills, so they really have to make a decision if they need to kill that turret or not, if they have to sustain to go through. Rungching actually is going to be switching back over to the Widow to try and get to the point quicker.
And Seed's going down early yet again. Literally deja vu. Seed's the first one to go down for Lab in this fight. You hate to see that kind of thing happen here, and it just falls apart one after another. You lose your DPS right after, and then that Bree and D.Va going down at the end. And this is all TSL all day.
You know, if Panda doesn't give Sober MVP by the end of this map, I don't really know if he's a true support mage. Sober has been absolutely popping off on this Analyst so far, hitting these huge antis onto the Genjis, hitting these huge sleep. He's just been almost semi-carrying 666 Legend by himself and doing such a great job. I love what I'm seeing from him.
And Runcheng now on the Widowmaker here. They've given up on the Bastion. I think I'm pretty sure TSL didn't want it to, you know, overstay their welcome, and I think that's a smart thing here. They still have the turret from the Torb, and look at that, just absolutely cutting off that right side staircase with the Torb ultimate. Look, perfectly placed right there. TSL just gets all tarred up, and TSL gets the tar up onto Lab. Lab gets all tarred up, and TSL with another full hold.
You know, maybe Lab went through space because, you know, when you're in Space Rapture, no one can hear you scream, and I think they're screaming a little bit right now for what to do. They're not sure exactly how they want to approach this. I like that they are switching to the Sombra now, so that way you can have the Sombra go behind and try and hack maybe one of the targets, hack the Orisa, hack the D.Va, someone like that, and then have the dive come in with Seeds. Maybe a little bit too late with 1 minute and 22 seconds left, and they're going to go through space again, but this turret is still just pumping out so much damage for free.
Yeah, 4th time's the charm, I guess. Maybe not. Yeah, that turret did so much damage to the D.Va, and then they just had Runcheng headshotting it, so it gets demech before they even touch the staircase. Now TSL going for a quick spacewalk here. Lab reduced to 1 minute on the clock on their offensive push.
So they do have some ultimates coming up. They have this Dragon Blade, and they also have the self-destructive. Self-destruct can come in and get some picks because the shield is up. If he times it correctly, he might be able to do that, but they have to be very, very careful.
And Runcheng, almost getting the snipe on the Sombra, doing some body shots there, forcing that Sombra Sky Show to fall back here, and then Mello gets picked off. Nightgod is nano boosted and putting some shots on Seeds and spreading the love out here. Look at all that damage. And Lab again pulverized by TSL.
And that really started because Mello had jumped up into the air attempting to try and Dragon Blade, but a perfectly timed shot there from Rungcheng took him to no health, and there Umbra was able to finish off the kill. And now going into the last fight, the Dragon Blade's all they have left. Binz is staggered out. He might not even make it back for this next fight.
Yep, and TSL, when in doubt, I mean, they can just throw down the Torb ultimate the second this Dragon Blade from Mello comes out. They also have the self-destruct too to force Mello away from the members of TSL, so they have options. Mello, a great play on it, get to sleep. What a play by Sober.
So good.
Mello gets absolutely shut down by Sober, and that's it. TSL very convincingly holding point A on Lab. There's no one else there for Lab. There it is, overtime ticket away, and TSL gets it. They take Horizon Lunar Colony.
Sober is nuts, man. With that anti from the Dragon Blade, shows no fear, hits the anti through the waits out the deflection for the frame perfect sleep to kill him. I mean, he's absolutely playing out of his mind right now. I love Sober. Again, I'm telling you, Panda doesn't give Sober MVP. I don't know what to think about him as a support mage. Take away support mage card.
Yeah, I think he might not be Sober if he thinks Sober's not getting that.
That's a good, yeah, there we go.
Yeah, but yeah, absolutely. Great plays there. You knew that Lab had to use the Dragon Blade to get back into it. Kenobi, I mean, that was just a big loss there for Lab. And of course, that Bastion strat, the Bastion Torb working well yet again on Horizon.
Yeah, and I think it was a really cool composition to, come out on. You have that crossfire. We saw how much damage the Torb turret could be doing if you are, you're too focused on the Bastion. There's that Torb turret on the right side of the high ground, just pumping out free damage time and time again. And it seemed like they didn't take any long-range damage to deal with it. They were trying to go through the right side with, like, Doomfist. Really, the only thing you have that can try and damage that turret is the Genji. And the Genji shurikens don't do that much long-range damage to it. The turret has 250 health. So I would have liked to have maybe seen, like, a Widowmaker or something where you can have more long-range damage, a Soldier, a McCree, something that you can deal with the turret and try and deal with the Bastion.
Absolutely. Well, let's see what Lab can figure out and test and experiment with as we move into our fourth and potentially final map. Don't go anywhere. On the other side of this break, more Overwatch Contenders China Season 3 2018 coming your way. Welcome back, Overwatchers, to our fourth and potentially final map of the set. It is our last match of the day here at Overwatch Contenders China, that is here on Broadcast.gg. It is Season 3, 2018. It is Week 4, Day 1. It is Rapture here with Kenobi, and it is Route 66 for this fourth map. TSL, and they are up against a formidable team, to some degree, because they picked up a map. It's 2-1 over Lab for TSL, and let's see, can they shut down Lab here on Route 66, or is Lab going to be able to burn some rubber and take another map on TSL? We'll find out. Kenobi, we've talked about Mello a couple times. Are there any other players now sticking out to you a bit more going into this last map?
I think Seeds and SkyShow have actually been playing pretty well together. I mean, just a little bit of miscommunication from the entire team has been the issue that I would say from the entirety of Laboratory. You know, we saw on that last map getting really bogged down by the crossfire coming out from 666 Legend there. So I'd like to see them maybe switch up their comps a little bit more and try and counter what, you know, they're bringing to the other side. Here it looks Laboratory, again, bringing out this very comfortable pick of Seeds on that Hammond and then Bins on that Diva.
Yeah, Lab definitely willing to run that Pharah with the Hanzo, and really a lot of pivoting off of that Pharah pick towards their second DPS pick. Look at that, wow, TSL focusing down the Pharah immediately. Mello hitting about 43 HP the second they peaked around that corner. So TSL already letting Lab know that they're not going to be able to just easily walk up onto this payload. And again, running DPS in the Orisa, running Nightgod on this Torb. No Bastion, but they do have Runchang back in the McCree. We've seen that previously, and Runchang does like to swap over to the McCree. Of course, Route 66, it makes a lot of sense. You get a little bit of a home field advantage here. But already, just the static defense has not even done too much. It's already eaten about a minute off the clock for Lab.
Yeah, because Mello is getting pressured out a lot here by Rungcheng. He can't really play too aggressive. SkyShow is able to get a pick on a Nightgod, which is pretty huge. It's a 5v6 right now for the side of Laboratory.
And here, oh, the Electric Cowboy gets stuck out by Mello there, electrocuted by those rocket shots. And now Umbra had 22 HP, DMech to 1, since picking up the DMech and helping out with the kill. Mello Seeds will steal it. And look at that. And once you kind of get rolled over, it's hard for that static defense to get its footing again. And TSL paying the price, now making some hot swaps compositionally.
They're going to be switching over to double sniper, actually. So Widowmaker on this map is one we see a lot of. We see a lot of these good sightlines that you have throughout this map. Really on just point A and point B. To point C, it's a little bit more difficult to run. But Nightgod here going to be playing that Hanzo. So you have a Hanzo to kind of try to counter Mello in the sky as well. So a lot of pressure can be put onto Mello, as well as some tank busting abilities.
And Mello hanging out with this barrage. It's going to be, well, I wouldn't say it'd be too difficult to let a clean barrage here on the second phase of this map. You can kind of swoosh in from that rooftop area, but certainly want to be careful. We already know TSL has Mello in their sights right there. Nightgod taking out Mello once they poke out. So really giving no room to work with here for Lab as they push up through the second phase of Route 66, and TSL in full control of this double sniper composition.
Especially with these discords that are coming in from Yagami that are always onto Mello right now, just putting so much pressure onto him. He gets one clipped, and then Feather isn't able to get the resurrection. Now Laboratory is going to be switching over to basically a full dive composition, except with the Hammond instead of the Winston. I like this swap because dive against double sniper is able to do a lot of damage, and they don't really have any CC for the side of 666 Legend to deal with it.
Oh, self-destruct thrown out. Oh, and Nightgod and Sober getting caught in the crossfire. Bins for 2. That self-destruct right down the middle lands perfectly, and TSL getting melted off of that. The snowball from Lab is real, and Lab still in control of the payload. 3 minutes and 30 seconds pushing through the halfway point here on Route 66.
And this is where I'd like to see 666 Legend switch over to the Brigades, like Rungcheng is going to do. Very smart move, going to have a lot of a CC ability to try and deal with the dive coming from Laboratory here. And a really important thing in that last fight was that the Transcendence from Laboratory got forced there, so they don't have it for this next fight.
Very questionable ultimates coming out from TSL. I used the self-destruct from Umbra to get him back into the fight. Nightgod using a Dragon Strike that really doesn't do much at all. It doesn't really separate Lab. It doesn't peel anyone off. It doesn't kill anybody. And both teams now trading just a bit, but it will be since demecking Umbra. As a Pulse Bomb, not going to find Pater. It does do some residual damage, but not much at all. Primal Raging Winston going to be running the show, getting the kill on the Feather. SkyShow having trouble cleaning up Umbra, but finally does so. But in the meanwhile, Nightgod demecking his own Diva. SkyShow trying to fall back. getting healed up, but has the Dragon Blade ready to go for this next fight.
So everyone is playing chess here with each other, and here Mello is switching over to the Widowmaker, going to offer them a little bit more long-range damage here to try and deal with Night God on this Hanzo, especially since you can't really play Tracer into Brigitte because she's just going to combo you, and it's going to be very difficult for you to even live through anything. So I like this switch coming out from Laboratory here.
Night God looking for some shot. Oh, sees the Diva, trying to demech it. And there's a self-destruct coming out on top. Nowhere to run. Run chain and Night God. That was great. A pile drive used by Seeds to make it impossible for Night God and Run Chain to get to cover in time against the self-destruct from Bins. Now Umbra, about 50 ult charge here, trying to slow things down as TSL. Oh, this was great. Using the minefield to cover Skyshow, making it hard to get the kill on him. But of course, once Skyshow gets out of the range of the minefield, you can't use it for cover anymore. Gets killed by Umbra. And TSL struggling to keep players in the payload. Umbra demeched by Seeds in Lab with about a minute and 30 seconds and change on the clock. They will melt Sober. TSL gonna think twice about recontesting, and Lab will pick up that second checkpoint about the 3-minute mark.
And you've asked me at the start, who is the player from Laboratory that you're seeing that you could really, build upon? And now it's just Bins. Bins has been money so far with all of the self-destructs that he's hit, with a little bit of assists from Seeds on that last one. But the first one was really just him hitting a nice angle over the Saloon to get those two that were on top of it. So great job from Bins, who has really, shown himself to be a pretty capable Diva player.
Skyshow, oh no! Skyshow goes down to Umbra. And see, you can see Seeds there. That was so uncharacteristic of Seeds. Normally Seeds is like out and about, like flanking by themselves. That time Seeds was patiently waiting, watching everyone else die. Sometimes you see the other side of the story, the other side of the coin out here in Contenders China.
The shoe's on the other foot, unfortunately, there for Seeds. And now with the ultimates that Laboratory don't really have because they switched up their composition too much. Totally new support duo and totally new DPS. So they're going to have to wait a little bit for these ultimates to come online. And 666 Legend is playing very, very aggressive in here.
Oh, another self-destruct. And Bins again finding a kill off of it. Gets Night God with the self-destruct. Bins very consistent with these self-destructs. Of course, it helps with some great combination with the help of Seeds and the pile driver, and then some. Skyshow also stunning people, making these self-destructs a little easier to land here. So Lab showing a bit more synergy than we've seen in the set previous.
And look, Bins is already 62% towards another self-destruct here. He's playing really out of his mind so far. Seeds, again, has been doing a lot of assisting with these pile drivers to really confirm those kills. But Bins is hitting these angles very, very well. You love to see it.
Yep, and now Skyshow go in there, bolstered up, big biotic there. And oh, nice, okay, Meteor Strike not gonna find anything. Skyshow, though, really does it right in the middle of the fray. I thought it'd be enough to kind of ward TSL off, but TSL all turn around and focus him down. Self-destruct comes down. Umbra are kind of wishing they had Bins' self-destructs right now, but it was pretty much just used to get back into the fight. Nevertheless, Lab, despite the success they've seen here and there, less than a minute on the clock, and the payload is still not at the end of the map.
Yeah, and Nikon's going to be very close to this Graviton here, and Laboratory don't have any defensive ultimates to deal with it, so as long as this doesn't get eaten, this should be a free fight win for the side of 666 Legend.
With about 37 seconds left on the clock, DPS diving right in, has the Primal Raging Winston ready to go if needed. Self-destruct comes down, Bins, the first one they've missed in a little bit here. Skyshow will get the DMech onto Umbra. And look at this. TSL just got caught on all angles there by Lab, and Lab will able to converge onto them, get the kills, but Kenobi, 15 seconds left in the clock, TSL can still hold off Lab.
But Laboratory were pushing the payload the entire time that fight was happening. Seeds actually was backcapping that entire time, so they're still moving this payload. But again, this Graviton here, it has to be huge if they want to have a chance of winning.
Nano boosted Doomfist, gonna be stunning the Bree, trying to shut down that crowd control. 50 HP by Skyshow, completely shutting down the efficiency of the Nano boosted Doomfist there. TSL on all points here, separating Lab supports from the rest of the team. But sees it's a kill into Yagami. DPS returning favor finds Sint. Payload comes to a stop. The minefield right on top of it. TSL just warding outside of that perimeter here, just trying to stay safe against the remainder of the minefield. Now there's the Graviton locking Lab in place. Is the follow-up there? Sober, DPS, Umbra, Runchang, all getting on the board. When overtime ticks down, TSL setting themselves up with a win condition. All they gotta do is finish the map.
Yeah, and TSL there could have really maybe stalled it a little bit closer at that end because they had that really aggressive dive, but didn't get the kills they needed. If they had just waited a little bit more patiently, as it looks like we have a pause here, if they had waited a little bit more patiently, they probably could have stopped it a little bit further. But as you mentioned, they do have a win condition. They need to get it all the way basically to the end there. And I would like to see a little bit shore up of ult usage coming out from TSL because they're, you know, they got held onto that Graviton for a very, very long time. And while it did secure the fight, you could have secured the fight earlier.
Yeah, we're definitely seeing a different shade of TSL. Certainly not as, you know, more hesitant using ultimates, like you said. And Lab kind of, you know, seeing a lot more synergy. The ultimate combinations working out, using the shield bash, using the pile driver from the Hammond to set up self-destruct from the D.Va. And really, this is definitely, I think this is probably the best Lab has seen, you know, been seen so far in the series. And honestly, I think probably, you know, a little too late, maybe not a little too late because technically the series isn't over yet, but on the 4th map you wish you kind of had seen that a bit earlier in the set. Nevertheless, for right now, Lab is definitely firing better, you know, so far in this map, but TSL also kind of giving them a little more room to work with. Not as strong on these ultimates, not as strong as we've seen them previously. So how much is it TSL, how much is it Lab? Hopefully we'll find out more on the other side of whenever we get back into this.
From your house into outer space. We've been planning a getaway. From your house into outer space. No one knows we're so far away from home. No one knows we are further than you know. You're like the moon and the stars. You're my shadow, you're my
Welcome back, everybody. Apologies for that. We are back in game for the next attempt here. So if you're just joining us, well, where have you been all morning? But Lab was
Yeah, you're a little
unable
bit late.
Yeah, you're a little bit late. Just a tiny bit. But Lab was unable to complete the map, which means TSL, all they have to do is get to the end, push the payload all the way to that golden checkpoint box, I guess, and finish it up, and they will be taking the set 3-1. But if Lab can hold them off, we'll be going to a map 5 between these two teams. Another set here that isn't a 4-0. Honestly, that's great because we've been seeing so many 4-0s here in Contenders China. But now it's up to 666 Legend. Can they get the 3-1, or will Lab put a bigger, larger dent in the map differential for 666 Legend?
And it can't be really overstated that this is basically a must-win for 666 Legend. Win and you're in kind of to get into that last Contenders playoff spot, get that fourth spot because the first three are already decided. So here, it looks like 666 Legend is going to be bringing back the pirate ship on Route 66. This is an Australia Rapture.
This is like not only Australia, this is like beta Overwatch too, you know, like this is so early Overwatch and then brought back, like you said, in Australia. Wow, Runcheng was at 1 HP and got healed up just in time. So low. And now Lab trying to push up onto them, maybe, you know, biting off a bigger bite than they could chew here. As TSL punishing Bins as they overextend a little bit. Seeds also overextending, not giving the support they need to the rest of the team. And TSL with Runcheng on this Bastion are slowly but surely cruising through this mid lane here, phase 1.
Yeah, DPS must have some really sweaty palms there because his shield just wasn't in time and Runcheng almost went down, as you mentioned, 1 health. And here, Melo's going to have to be very, very careful with hacking the Bastion here because if he gets caught like he does there, it's going to be very difficult for him.
Yeah, Melo going down, so not only that, Melo was, you know, still a ways away from an EMP, so Lab really can't afford to be losing their DPS, especially SkyShow, who had Barrage, and now that means Seeds and Bins are gonna melt. Runcheng is just throttling Lab right now, and TSL are gonna be able to push this through to the first checkpoint at 2 minutes and 44 seconds. Now they're at 5 minutes and 10 seconds on the clock.
Yeah, but I'm not sure if they're going to be able to push this all the way with the ultimates that are coming out for Laboratory. There is this Barrage here, and there is the EMP. So they could use that as a combo. EMP first to shut down the defense matrix and shut down the ability for Bastion to get into turret mode, and then use that Barrage to confirm all those kills. And the Pile Driver and Minefield as well from Seeds can do a lot of damage.
Yeah, honestly, this Bastion is really just working so well against Lab. Seeds and Bins are such huge targets that they get melted. SkyShow really can't move fast enough in the air to avoid the Bastion. If Melo gets close enough, they get melted. The Mercy, if they try to move in the air, they get melted. I mean, really, Lab is just getting destroyed right now by this Bastion composition. It's a simple old pirate ship is enough to give the other team scurvy and win this so far.
And unfortunately, their Laboratory didn't use the combo that I would have expected to come out from them. They didn't use the EMP well enough so that you could get the confirmed kill onto the Pharah Barrage, onto that Bastion. Now they're going to be switching up themselves to some different compositions. Here you're going to be running the Doomfist here for SkyShow. Going to have a lot more one-shot capability potential instead of just the shield breaking that you get from the Pharah.
Yeah, I think they're going to be like, all right, let's see if we can get the Doomfist onto the Bastion and just throw bodies at the Bastion and try and get them off the payload. But Runcheng was like, I'll just get off for you. Oh. No, but then he rolled right back out. He was in take mode, and then he decided to leave cover and got hit by the self-destruct. I'm not entirely sure why they made that sacrifice, but it pays off for Lab as they are able, off that self-destruct, to get TSL off the point. And that's going to be hard now that Pirate Ship has been dislodged off the payload. How will TSL be able to get control of the payload and get that Bastion back on top of it?
Bins again pulling his team out of the fire with a self-destruct. I actually expect for TSL to switch. Actually, no, they're going to stick onto this composition. So really just giving this Bastion composition a go, even though they're not set up onto the payload yet.
Yeah, this is Night God now on the Roadhog, gets the hook, puts it right down that D.Va into the middle of his team. That's an easy cleanup there. And now that's also another opportunity to take care of SkyShow, but Sober does it for him. About 3 minutes left on the clock here, and TSL gonna stagger the Mercy too. Lab is just falling apart here. TSL in full control. They're just staggering on one by one, quick play style here. 2 minutes and 50 seconds on the clock, 49 now. And now 4 minutes and 16 seconds on for the remainder of this push of TSL.
TSL is going into Laboratory right now and just breaking all their beakers, shattering every single one of their science equipments. Just everything is getting torn to shreds by Runcheng here on this Bastion. And I also want to give some credit to Night God here, who's been pretty money with his hooks so far.
Yeah, for now, Night God is making it hard for Lab to commit to dives or really just put themselves out in the open. They're going to get hooked every time and set up for Runcheng. Oh, Runcheng gets caught out. Bins just putting themselves in. Oh, but Umbra self-destruct with the payload as Lab was committing to take down the Bastion. TSL loses Runcheng, but they gain a bunch of kills. Lab just pulverized yet again, and TSL getting a ton off that 3K from Umbra.
Umbra puts everyone in the darkness there, and now coming into this next fight, they have this Bastion ultimate as well as the Supercharger. A lot of damage potential coming out from this ultimate combo.
And that was Runchang now with the tank mode. Gonna be able to make something happen here. Now, doesn't need to burn it though, because the tanks are just offering them up for free. Bins and Seeds both going down, then finds Sky Show, Runchang hitting Q. I think that's all, I think that's it. I think that's it. Lab going off to the, I guess off to the retirement home, I would say. TSL just kind of outplaying them out on top. GG's for TSL as they're in full control. Lab just trying to stagger on, but it's not enough. TSL will take the series 3-1.
TSL there makes Laboratory walk the plank at the end with that pirate ship composition that they brought out. Something that we actually haven't seen too much of, but there it seems like TSL played it very well and Laboratory didn't understand really how to counter it. They picked a couple of different things, could have used their alt combinations a little bit more wisely. Maybe a theme throughout this game was that Laboratory just didn't use their alts as effectively as possible, besides really Bins, who was the star player, I would say, for Laboratory. So unfortunately for Laboratory, they are going to lose this map and probably end up going towards Trials, but they did win that one map victory.
Absolutely, yeah. A slight dent put in the map differential for TSL. We'll see if that has any consequences later in the season. But for now, that's it for me and Kenobi. And all three matches, going to throw it over to the desk for one last time to break it down. Gio, take it away.
So the tables eventually tipped in the favor, well, the scales eventually tipped in the favor of TSL by the end of that series. But guys, even though they took the last two maps, would you say that it was just as close a fight as we saw in the first two, or did it really kind of fall to TSL quite in a dominant fashion?
TSL definitely woke up, looked like the stronger team throughout the last two maps compared to what we saw early on.
Yeah, no, hard agree. I mean, at moments, TSL definitely seemed like they stumbled and were still caught off guard by Lab's tricks and those concoctions they were making. But at the end, TSL just came out looking a lot stronger in those final maps, like Val just said.
Yeah, like TSL brought out quite a lot of turret play. We saw Night God finding a home on Torbjorn more than once. Runchang on Bastion playing the pirate ship. Where did this whole idea of playing these turrets come from?
I think it all just stands where armor really is. I mean, we've known Torbjorn, originally one of the original makers in Overwatch for armor. Bastion also has a decent amount of armor, plus his passive Ironclad keeps him alive through the more damage. And through all the flexibility that Laboratory were trying to offer, whether it was Melo's Genji, the Pharah coming out from Sky Show, or the Doomfist to displace some of the tanks, it just wasn't ever going to be enough to get through it in a decent amount of time. With that, expanding off of that, of course, with 666 Legend, what they were able to do was DPS was always finding those key dives when there was triple tank for their defense, but on their attack, even if one got displaced and his halt wasn't available, they were still readily available with the defense matrix to mitigate all the damage coming in. So the Pharah barrage wasn't really all too much. And when the Doomfist ultimate came down, there was a shield right in place. So it just seems that Laboratory were just unable or just unequipped to deal with the expensive armor that 666 Legend played with.
Yeah, I mean, Panda, I think it might have been you. Maybe it was Val's. I don't remember. But one of you was saying while we were watching the game that you feel like Lab were just too quick to make compositional swaps, which is sort of not what you usually see from teams.
Yeah, one of the biggest faults, and is a common theme throughout China, is that teams are a little bit too stubborn. They don't make a lot of adjustments, try and run the same composition over and over, maybe have one change to go to in the end. Laboratories seem to have the opposite problem in that their DPS, especially Melo and Sky Show, are constantly changing. They'll never, if they're losing team fights, they'll always immediately change off to another hero. And sure, while I appreciate the fact that they are trying to make changes, they're going to trying to find something that works. They don't stick around long enough to actually find value. They never build up their ultimates. They never get into a rhythm or anything. So I feel like they've got the opposite problems with a lot of teams. They need to settle down a bit more, be confident in what they're playing rather than constantly trying to make changes and find an answer, because the indecision really isn't paying off.
Even when you come back to that team fight with your ultimate, like we saw with the barrage there in Route 66, or when you tried to play for that competitive mode mindset, there are a lot of things that can go wrong in that end the game, right? You can try to play for the big Doomfist punch that'll displace the Brigitte, and although you can counter, or you can put Doomfist in the slot that is, I guess, is a kind of a soft counter to Brigitte, where you can get that punch and you can really one-shot her against the wall. You can't really rely on that all the time. You need to combine these tactics that the DPS, like Vals was saying, that were just very... They wanted to swap a lot, right? And when you don't implement that with the way that your team is playing, aka timing that seismic slam with the pile driver of Seeds, our resident hamster main of Chinese Contenders, I believe that displacing that Bastion becomes that much easier. And we didn't really see too much of that from Laboratory outside of their chronic swaps, and it really was the final nail in their coffin here.
Well, you just mentioned him, and I feel like I have to because he was the first person we spoke about on this game's desk today, so I want him to be the last. But we saw Seeds switch onto something that wasn't Hammond. Was it a bit too late, though?
Definitely a bit too late in the day. Came onto the Winston right at the end of Route 66. Didn't really find any value. It was too little too late to actually do anything. We know that he at least knows how to select other heroes. We'll have to wait till next week, which will be the last week we actually see Laboratory, to see if he's going to continue playing the Winston throughout the series or if he sticks to the Wrecking Ball. He's
pile drived his way down so far in that hole as a hamster main. I feel like it's going to be difficult for him to leap back out on Winston, but if next week shows anything for Laboratory's main tank, then heck yeah, I would believe him to be something other than our resident hamster main.
I don't know, there's hope. He's figured out how to press H in spawn, so like the next step is... Well, it's been a fantastic day today with all these wonderful games, and now TSL, we know they're sticking in that top 4 spot in Group A, but for now we're gonna have to say goodbye from day 1. Day 2 will be tomorrow from 9 a.m. GMT and whatever that is in your respective time zones, but it'll be thank you from Panda, Vals, Rapture, Kenobi, a little bit of Albion, and me, Gio, and we will see you tomorrow. Goodbye.